everybody, it's Bethany again with Saturday Night Live. And today we're going to talk organization a little bit more. This video is going to be a little different than the last one. The last one, if you haven't seen it, I'll link it down below. I organized all of my projects, my coming up projects into these bins. Just kind of gave myself a jumping off point for my next handful of projects. This time we're actually going to kind of go based on some questions or comments that were left on the last video. But before we start there, I do want to give you a little bit about myself. I am a self-proclaimed color obsessed after hours crafter. So I knit, I crochet, I weave, I dabble in a little bit of sewing and cross stitch, mainly crocheting and knitting. I do call myself a fiber artist because I really do love everything that goes into fiber. I mean, the spinning, the dyeing, the weaving, the knitting, the blocking, the wearing. I love it all. I live with my partner and my son, my teenage son, and I do work a full-time job. This is just kind of my hobby on the side. I run a blog called Saturday Night Live. It will be linked down below. I'm not super duper active on the blog. My brain comes up with a lot of things to write, but my follow through is not the best. I get a little bit brain foggy and a little bit sidetracked when I get an idea and then I sit down to write it and I go, oh, nobody wants to read this. That's just my my brain pushing me down. So I like this platform a lot better. I can talk with the door closed to my office, just kind of talk to my phone as if I was talking to a friend. And I hope that eventually we'll get to be friends and we'll get to chat and talk together like this. So I do suffer from a few autoimmune issues. I'm not going to get into it, but you are going to kind of see in videos as time goes on how those kinds of things affect me. I do tend to get very short of breath. You're going to see lesions and things on my face. Today I'm dealing with an outbreak around my nose. You're going to see those types of issues. So just kind of be prepared for it. Don't freak out. Nothing's, dire, but I do have autoimmune issues that are going to manifest physically. Again, like I said, don't panic. Just be aware of that. That I do understand what's going on with my body. So I guess I'm going to get started with answering some of the comments that were posted from last week's video. The kind of theme today is going to be how I stay organized and how I stay motivated, and kind of dip back into the disabilities issue and kind of how I adapt my craft around those types of things and how I make my craft work for me and some of the tips and tricks that I follow. So we had Suzanne Clark 5454 said, "So beautiful in your office. I love it. I'm having a hard enough time organizing my weekender bag to get projects done by Christmas. You rock." Thank you, Suzanne. I really appreciate it. I get it. Organizing our bags with our projects is so difficult. So one of the things that I do is I keep multiples of things. And something that you're going to notice with this channel is I am not here to sell you anything. I'm not here to make you buy things, and I'm not here to influence you. I'm here to show you the things that work for me, and then you can take those and decide whether those are going to work for you. I'm going to be really bad about linking things because half the time I will buy something, I'm excited to get it, and then I forget who I buy it from. So if I do remember, I'm going to try my best to make sure you know where I get things. If I don't mention it or don't put the link down below, please comment and ask me. I'm sure I can track down where I bought it. The first thing I do is I keep this This always sits next to me in my living room where I mainly knit. I like to knit with my family while they're playing video games or we're watching a movie. This sits on the side table next to me and my basket full of home projects. Those bigger projects that I don't want to drag out in public with me and I maybe don't want to take to my knitting circle. So I had this made by an Etsy shop that I'll link down below. It holds, this way, it holds my needles, my interchangeable needles, and all of my notions, and it doesn't go anywhere with me other than to and from the yarn shop on Saturdays, because I just pick it up, zip it up, and stick it in my bag. And that way, everything is together. I'll go through kind of what I have in here. This I had her custom make to match. This holds all of my cables for my interchangeable needles. It also holds the T-pins that tighten the needles. And I have these little grippies that I bought separately from ChowGoo that help me grip the needles. Those help a lot because the tips of my fingers, the kind of strength that I need to keep the needles tight, I don't always have that. The next thing in here, I got this off of Amazon. I'm sure if you look up pill case, travel pill case, you'll find one of these. In here, you can kind of see I have some stitch markers I made out of leftover wool. I've got a needle threader, my stoppers for my needles, and then these are all different kinds of stitch markers that I use. This always stays in there. It's just kind of got a little bit of everything in it, and I use everything in here. It does make a lot of noise and that's really annoying, but like I said, this really doesn't move from my living room other than when I'm going to knitting circle. The next thing I keep are tapestry needles. I got this pack of like 20 off of Amazon. I know Amazon isn't the greatest, but sometimes when you can't get to somewhere to get something because your body's rebelling, Amazon's the way to go. It's originally had 4 colors of needles in there and I think 5 of each, and since then I've taken it kind of apart and I keep a needle with each project, and then these are just the extras. I have this tin right here, holds my, these stitch markers are by Katrinkles. Again, I'm not influencing you, but I am going to be honest about what they do. I knit a lot of really big shawls, and these have numbers on them for when I have to cast on 200, 300 stitches. This kind of helps me keep them in line so I don't end up casting on 299, start knitting and realize that I need one more stitch. Those are really handy. Like I said, I do most of my knitting at home in my living room. I try really hard not to cast on when I'm out. When I'm out socializing, I try to have an easy on-the-go project on my needles, like a hat that I just have to keep going around and around and around on, or a scarf that's really easy garter stitch or stockinette stitch that I just knit, purl, knit, purl. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to look at a pattern. Those are my favorite types of things for on the go. At home, I'm gonna make a bit more bigger things like blankets, or I'm gonna knit more complicated items that I actually have to check the pattern for. The other thing I have in there are these are kind of like little tip cards. These are by Katrinkles as well. I really like her stuff. It's great and long lasting. This one is for what's called the Kitchener stitch. I don't like to call it the Kitchener stitch. If you Google Kitchener, yeah. Anyway, this is how to graft things together, stitches together, and I always forget. I also have one that has the directions for make one left, make one right. I'm dyslexic and I forget my lefts and rights. So this helps me a lot. And then the last one I have is a crochet swatch and hook number guide. I'm so ingrained in knitting because it's so fresh in my mind. Even though I've been crocheting for longer, I've done more research and things with knitting. I always forget the sizes of the hooks and the gauge sizes for crochet, so I keep that with me. What else do I have in here? I've got a center pull ball making tool, again, by Katrinkles. It's got a little notch in here. There's directions printed on it for how to do it, because sometimes I forget how to do it. But this is really nice. It is also really nice for if I am knitting something that has corners and I need to kind of push the corners in. I use it in sewing too. It's like a multi-purpose tool, honestly. Sometimes if I'm knitting and I've got it on my pattern on a table, I will use this to kind of guide what line I'm on. So again, multi-purpose tool. Do you need it? Absolutely not. Do I probably need it? No, but I have it. I always keep a little bit of scrap yarn. This is some leftover sock yarn from just random project. Just some scrap, so that if I need to take my needles out of my project, or for some reason I finish the sleeve and I need to put it on waste yarn, or I need to try it on, or went through TSA and they took my needles, I will put it on waste yarn. I've tried the barber cords, which I'll kind of show you in a later video what those are. It's tubing, hollow tubing that you would slip through the stitches just like you would this. I trust this more. It's gonna grip my yarn a little bit better. It's gonna be more of a pain to put back on my needles maybe than the barber cords, but I trust this more, and it's easier to carry around a tiny little ball than like a bunch of little things. I have a thing for pens. I have a thing for pens. So I have a bunch of pens in here. Mainly they just kind of get dumped in here. I'll go grab another one before I'm knitting and I'll have another one. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pens. Do I need 8 pens? Absolutely not. I usually keep a blue, a black, and a red one for counting different rows or making notes. So I also have 2 highlighters in here. I like to keep 2 different colors in case I'm doing a project that uses 2 different colors, or I do highlight 1 color for right side, 1 color for wrong side. These are really nice. I do like to keep 2 in there. I have a 3rd one in there. I must have been doing something with 3 colors at some point. Also have 2 pencils. Pencils are great if you are knitting a pattern or working on a pattern that you know you're going to make again. I like to keep pencils. And where are they? I must have taken them out. I usually, oh, here they are, sticky notes. Sticky notes are great for tallying rows or repeats of something, marking down a note that you are trying, experimenting, changing in your pattern, and maybe you're not sure if it's going to work, but you want to mark down what you did so that if it does work, you can repeat it, or if it doesn't work, you know what you did wrong. So sticky notes, and I like to keep these little tiny ones. They're really bright color, easy to see. I like to keep these and especially a pencil around so that I can edit my pattern or any kind of notes and kind of work off of those. These are also really great for when I go to Saturday knitting and someone talks about something that I am gonna forget. A book I want to read, a movie I want to see, a recipe I want to look up, whatever it might be. Sticky notes are great because I have a tendency to write whatever note down on the pattern that I'm knitting, and then the pattern gets put away and the note's gone. So I started carrying these around. I also have a pair of scissors in there. I'm really bad about poking holes in things, so I tend to buy scissors that have like a sheath with them. These are really nice, off of Amazon. Do you need them? Absolutely not. You can put regular craft scissors in here. Craft scissors are going to cut your wool or your yarn or your string the exact same as this is. This is just fancy. You don't need this. I keep a tape measure. I always keep a tape measure in here. You can get the cheap ones for 50 cents at Joann's during the holidays, the actual physical tape. and stick it in your project bag or your notions bag. This one's a little sentimental to me. I got this one after I got married and we took a trip right after the wedding to New York, and we went to the yarn shop there called Knitty City. We actually took the same trip, similar trip to New York the year before where we got engaged. So I keep this one with me. Every time I pull it out, it makes me happy to look at it. Do you need a fancy one from a fancy store? No. Again, these should be in my container. These are my two favorite stitch markers. So this is a light bulb stitch marker. These I use for counting rows up. It'll kind of keep my progress if I'm knitting something long like a hat or a sock. I'll mark every, 20, 25 rows so that when I go to repeat it again later, I can mark down on my sticky notes with my pencil how many rows or repeats I did. These ones I tend to use, and I got these ones off of Amazon. Again, these come in like a million colors. I got just a grab bag full of them. I like these for just everyday knitting. They will fit all the way up to, I think, a size 10 millimeter needle. I typically don't knit past a size 7 US needle. So these are perfect unless I'm knitting socks. I like to use those. I have this in there. I don't use it. It's a row counter. It's currently on row 22 from being knocked around the bag. I use a row counter instead on my phone, or because I'm lazy and I don't pull out my phone, I mark my rows down on a sticky note. So I'm not gonna put this back in there because I don't actually need it. I always keep chapstick. My health makes my skin really, really dry, especially my lips and my nose. So I always keep chapstick with me. There's chapstick in every handbag I own. All of my project bags have chapstick in it. I keep chapstick next to my my chair. I also keep hydrocortisone. Dry skin gets itchy. So this is the other thing. I don't actually keep this in my project bag. This sits next to me on the chair or on the table in my living room. I also keep it in my office. I keep it at work, keep it in my car, keep it in my purse. So, yeah, obviously I'm not going to pull all my needle tips out. This is what they look like. On the end, they have little screwed ends that screw into the, make sure I put these back in the right one. These are 5. That screw into the cords. This is something that I will say is a great investment. If you don't want to use this, any small crochet hook works. But this is called a stitch saver or emergency tool. It's a hook on one side and a needle on the other. And I use this to fix any kind of issues that I have if I drop a stitch or accidentally don't grab a stitch or grab too many stitches. I use this for fixing my knitting as I go, but you could just use a crochet hook and an extra double pointed needle, which I also keep in there in case I misplace my stitch saver. What else is in here? I have a needle gauge. This helps. I don't use this as much, but I keep these with me in case I run into some, and I've given a bunch of these away. I still have so many more. They come with random needle sets that I bought in the past or as random gifts when I order yarn. But they're great if you own needles that are not printed with the size on them. These are great. So I keep one around. I just gave one away last night at my guild meeting. And so I threw another one in here. Random stickers. My one set of cable needles. I asked for a second set for Christmas, and I'll show you why in a little bit. But I like the wooden straight cable needles because they act the most like a knitting needle would. I don't like the plastic ones that have like the little dips in them or they're like little hooks. I don't actually have any of those right now to show you, but they're really cumbersome and they pull the needles or they pull the stitches too far away from my knitting for me to be comfortable with them. So anyway, I like these stay in here. I have just bought these These are darning needles from Lantern Moon. I have not tried them yet. They have this little flexible end that's plastic to put your yarn through instead of the metal eye. So I'm interested to see how these work, but those are in here. Actually, there's 3. It's a 3 set. I have, set these down here. I'm running out of hand room. I have rubber thimbles. These are great because the way that I hold my needles, sometimes I end up with blisters or like wearing down right here and my fingers get really sensitive. Or if I'm using a really, really small needle, like a 1 or a 2, I will end up with broken blood vessels on the tip of my finger because they're really sharp, and I have a bad habit of pushing my needle as I'm knitting. So these were really cheap. I want to say I got these at my local yarn shop, maybe. I might have gotten them during a fiber show, but these are really nice. They have little grippies on the end. Not that those really matter, but they protect my fingers. When I don't have these, which you don't need these, Band-Aids work just fine, or medical tape works just fine, to kind of protect your fingers. Again, I use really small needles sometimes, and I don't always use them super smartly. A binder clip is really nice for holding your stitches together. It's also really nice, or holding your pattern together. It's also really nice to clip to the side of your bag. If you fold your pattern in half and clip your pattern to your bag, I don't typically do this, but I've done it a few times. You can look at your pattern straight up instead of having to look down at the table. The other thing is, if you need a makeshift yarn guide, if you take, I'm sure everybody, or a lot of people know this hack, if you take this off, you can feed the yarn into this and it won't roll around. Don't ask me to demonstrate it. I'm sorry. I don't want to do that. The last thing I have are these cable locks. Okay. Does anybody remember those windbreakers we would have back in the 90s and the early 2000s and the 80s? And they had these little, here I have a colorful one that'll help. They have these little guys on the end. That's what these are. All they are, again, you don't need these. I picked these up on the yarn tour in September, I think. These slide onto your cables, and if you're knitting something really big like a shawl and you're just having to shove 300, 600 stitches from side to side on your needles, these just kind of take the effort out of it. It always kind of keeps the yarn where you need it and prevents just extra work. So these are nice to have. I'll put everything away later. So that is my notions bag that I keep next to me on my table. The other thing is, just recently I got this notions bag. This comes in my purse. I take this everywhere now, so I don't have to take this with me to the yarn shop. I don't have to take it with me to my knitting guild meetings. And so I got this off of Etsy. It is felt. And inside I kind of keep the same types of things. Spare yarn, chapstick, pencil, highlighter, binder clip. In here I actually keep a nail file because typically at home I can run and grab a nail file. I have a little tiny ruler. I've got stitch stoppers in here because at home I really don't need stitch stoppers. On the go I would. I have a hair tie because at home I have one next to me on my table. Stitch stoppers, cable locks, sorry. A pair of scissors, darning needles, emergency stitch tool, my tape measure, another needle gauge, and in here I have all of my stitch markers. The only other thing is this comes with a little pocket that I keep my tape measure in. This little guy is perfect for my needles. And then this little loop here, I've just attached a stitch marker to, so I have my T-pin for my needles at the ready instead of having to dig through everything to find it, to tighten up my needles. But this sits really nicely. The only thing this is missing is sticky notes right now. But it's really nice, fits nice in my purse. It's not cumbersome at all. But yeah, so that's kind of how I keep organized at home and on the go. I just keep everything in the same place, and I always keep it sitting in the same place. I always knit in the same place. If I'm not knitting here in my office, I'm knitting on the recliner in the living room in the same place. So yeah, thank you, Suzanne, for your comment. My next comment that I'm going to answer is from Jessica Howell 721. They say, your space is so amazing, not just for crafting, thank you, but just to be in. As a neurospicy person, I thrive in order, but tend to create chaos. How do you organize or stay organized? I feel like it's so unobtainable. So again, thank you for your comment. As far as staying organized, it's less about organization and more, for me, about listening to my body and listening to my mind. And so, as a fellow neurospicy, I'm going to share some of my tips. I call them adaptive tips. Maybe they're not adaptive, but they work for me. And so just kind of take these, see if any of them work for you, and adapt them for you. So the first thing that I'm going to say, and I'm probably going to hate myself for this later because I've been leaning over this whole time, pillows are your friend. Pillows are right. If I'm knitting something or working on something, I like to have one on my lap, because then I've gone from having my arms down to having my project closer to me. It helps me sit up straighter. And if your problem is not your back or your chest, maybe it's your shoulders. Roll up a towel and put it behind your neck if you're going to lean back. Just consciously make yourself lean back and sit up straighter. It's going to help a whole lot. It'll help with muscle strain. It's going to help with your elbows hurting. It's going to help with your headaches. So use pillows to your advantage. Pillows, towels, hoodies, whatever you've got around. You don't have to spend any money to make yourself a little bit more comfortable. And the more comfortable you are, the more motivated you're going to be to do something that you enjoy. The second thing I'm going to say is light. Use light to your advantage. I don't usually like to leave the big light on, which is why I typically don't craft in this room. If I'm going to be in this room, other than for filming or for working, I turn the lights off. I leave these guys on. Big light's not good. Little light's good. In the living room, I have 2 lamps. If you are an outdoor person, use the natural light. Get out in the sun. Use the light to your advantage. That's going to help a lot with eye strain. It's going to help a lot with headaches. And because you're going to be able to see better, you're going to be able to craft for longer. Take breaks. Be careful with yourself. Be merciful with yourself and give yourself the breaks that you need. Get water, get a snack, change the channel if you're bored. Give yourself some breaks and set milestones that you give yourself breaks. Say, I'm going to finish this section. Or, oh, this section's too long. I have to do 18 repeats of it. So don't do 18 repeats. Do 4. Do 6. Do 2. Break it up for yourself if you need to. Or set yourself a goal. I'm going to do these 18 repeats. And then when I'm done, I'm going to reward myself. I'm then going to get up and get a snack. Or then I'm going to get up and change the channel. Or whatever it may be. But give yourself that rest that you need. The other thing is, I call it suiting up. Kind of give yourself, before you sit down to craft, kind of take an overview of where you are physically and mentally. Are you able to work on this super complicated craft, Or do you maybe need to do something a little bit more intuitive, a little bit simpler that you don't have to think about because you just want to shut your brain off? Or physically, do you have cuts, blisters, any kind of soreness? Take care of that. Put Band-Aids on your cuts. Or wear your rubber thimbles. If your elbow hurts, take some medicine, use some ice, prop it up. Whatever it may be. Are your eyes dry? Maybe take your contacts out, put your glasses on, or put some eye drops on. Again, I'm relating this to me and my issues. Take this and relate it then to yours. I'm not telling you what to do at all. I do not want to tell you how to live your life. That's not who I am. I'm just kind of giving you the tips that I use in order to get to where I am. Use what's comfortable to you. If someone is telling you they like metal needles or hooks, but you prefer bamboo or you prefer acrylic, use that. No one's telling you, or no one should be telling you what you should and shouldn't use. If you don't like wool yarn, and you like cotton, or you like acrylic, or you like bamboo, linen, whatever it is you like, use that. Because if you can sit and you can be comfortable in your craft using what you enjoy, that's all that matters. That is all that matters. If you prefer printing out your patterns, print them out. Use paper patterns. If you prefer to go digital, go digital. There is nothing keeping you, or there should be no one gatekeeping what you do and how you craft. Keep your tools close to you and keep them always in the same spot or easy to access. Like I said, I have the luxury of having 2 craft spaces, one in my office and one in the living room. And I have a table dedicated to my crafting in the living room. I've got it all in a basket that stays there. I clean it out every couple weeks to make sure there's nothing extra, no trash or anything in there that I don't need. And I keep my extra tools, my little to-go bag in my purse so that I always have it. But keep your stuff close at hand. Keep Post-its and scissors and a pencil or a pen. I like to keep a retractable pen. Those are my favorite because I get frustrated with interruptions. I get frustrated if I have to go grab a pen, take the lid off, write down what I need to. If I can keep my needles or my hook in one hand, click my pen, write it down, click it back, finish knitting, that makes me happy. So that works for me. Keep some water nearby. Keep a snack, a granola bar, peanuts, what have you, your favorite candy bar. Keep that close by so that you don't have to get up. We all get comfortable. We get comfortable working on what we're doing. We get in the zone and then we suddenly look up and we got a headache. We got a little blood sugar. We maybe didn't eat enough at dinner. Maybe it's been a little longer than it should be for dinner. Maybe it's, whatever. You got a stroke of insomnia and decided to craft to kind of kick it. Now you need to eat something. Keep that nearby. Keep it in your craft bag. No one's stopping you from keeping, some water nearby and a snack in your bag. It's a great, great idea to always have a snack nearby. I like to categorize my projects by my own kind of system based on how intricate they are. So I have to be doing something else while I'm knitting or while I'm crocheting and crafting. I have to be listening to music or an audiobook or watching TV or watching a movie. And so I kind of have a system based on how much I have to pay attention to what I'm listening to versus how much I have to pay attention to what I'm knitting. So for example, if I'm knitting a hat and it's just knitting, I don't have to think about it at all. I can do that at the gym. I can do that at, during a meeting. I can do that in the car because I don't have to look down. I'm not going to get car sick because I can stay looking up. Whereas if I'm going to be doing an intricate shawl or a sweater, I'm going to probably be listening to music because I'm not going to remember anything that I heard. I'm not listening to an audiobook. I'm not watching TV or a movie. Or if I'm watching a movie, I'm watching a movie that I don't care about. I've watched it already. I kind of know what's happening. I'm not watching a new show with new characters that I got to pay attention to. I'm also not going to be watching something with subtitles if I'm crocheting, because I have to keep looking down. I'm not going to be watching something foreign if I or a brand new audiobook, starting a series or something. I'm going to listen to something I'm familiar with, or something that is maybe super simple, like I'll listen to The Wizard of Oz, or I'll listen to something that I'm familiar with that maybe I haven't listened to yet. So I kind of keep that in mind. If you're like me and you need to do something else, categorize what you're working on with what you're going to listen to or what else is going to happen around you. Don't fight yourself on that. If you really want to listen to that audiobook and you need to pay attention, pick a different project. Or if you really, really want to work on the intricate lacework project, pop on your favorite music or put on one of those chill vibe playlists. Your brain will wander on the background while you're focusing on that lace. I like to, on that same note, I like to keep multiple projects going at multiple different difficulty levels. So right now I've got 4 blankets going. They're all in different areas of the house. I've got 2 in this room and 2 in the living room, and they're different types of blankets. 2 of them are temperature blankets that I actually have to physically do research on every time I work on them. And 2 of them are scrap blankets, but they're crochet, so I actually have to pay attention to what I'm doing. One of them is a pattern that I have to actually pay attention to. The other one's intuitive. I don't have to think about it at all. I just have to look. So those are 2 different difficulties. The one that actually is a pattern and the one that I just am straight crocheting, that I can do 2 different things when I'm working on those. Whereas my knitting projects, I've got a hat that I can knit at the gym or in the car. I've got a shawl that actually I have to learn brand new stitches for. That one's a bit more difficult. I actually have to pay really close attention to that one. And then I have something in the middle. It's a garter stitch shawl with some slip stitches that I can knit anywhere. I can knit it on the couch. I can knit it here. I can knit it on my lunch at work. I just have to pay attention to the stitch count. So I've got a hard and easy and a medium. But keeping multiple projects is great for people who lose interest easily. I get very, very bored with what I'm doing sometimes, and I need to switch to something new. So when I get bored, I either start something new, and I know this about myself, and I have no problem with that. I have no problem, obviously, if you've watched my last video, you could see that I have multiple works in progress or WIPs. I have no problem starting new things because I know that eventually I will either look at them and say, I don't like this, and I'll rip it out, or I'll look at them and say, oh, I forgot about this, and I'll get so excited, I'll get new motivation to finish it or work on it. So keeping multiple things is a great way to stay motivated. It gives you something new to look forward to, and it gives you a little bit of flavor, a little bit of of spice to kind of try multiple types of things. Keep your projects organized and keep them separate. So in my last video, I bought these bags and these baskets to keep each project sorted. You do not need to spend any money on this. You can use plastic grocery bags. Write in Sharpie or write on a slip of paper what the project is. Keep all your tools with it. Keep a spare set of scissors and a hook or a pair of needles, or don't. Keep them in your project bag. Keep them in your Notions bag, and just grab the bag you need to work on and work on that. Don't want to work on that one? Grab the next one. Don't use plastic shopping bags? Gallon Ziploc bags work great. Want to stay away from plastic? Reuse the shopping bags, the paper ones. Aldi's has them for 15 cents. Or lunch bags, paper lunch bags. You can fit your project in there too. You don't have to spend money to stay organized at all. What else did I have down? I have my notes down here in case you're wondering where I'm looking down. Practice. Practice does not equal perfect. Whoever decided that is a moron. Okay, practice does not equal perfect. No one is perfect ever. In fact, every single item I have ever knit or crochet has at least one mistake in it. And I leave it. I leave it. I don't care. It's a design element. It is what it is, and I'm not going to fix it if it doesn't matter to the overall look of it. If you're looking that closely at my stuff, you're too close. But practice does make progress, and it does help you to find out what you like and what works for you. So practice, keep practicing, keep trying, try new things. Don't be afraid to try new things or ask for help or ask questions, because smart people ask questions and stupid people don't. That's just my opinion. But anyway, the last thing I want to say is, or the last two things I want to say is, I like to let my mind wander. And the reason I like to let my mind wander is because my mind is creative. It likes to play. It loves color, and it loves new fun things. And if I don't let it out and let myself look at what I've got and let myself play around with what I've got, I won't come up with new ideas. I won't come up with the next thing I want to do. So give yourself that time. Give yourself the ability to let your mind do what it was meant to do and be creative. Try mood making. Mood making is my favorite thing. I don't remember where I heard it, but I did hear it a couple times in the past. Mood making. What are you in the mood to do? Are you in the mood to make a blanket? Make a blanket. What? No one's stopping you. Are you in the mood to make a hat? Make that hat. You hate what you're working on? You don't think you like it? Take it apart. No one says you can't. Why not? Or set it aside and try something new. Sit on it for a while. Maybe you're just in a bad mood and saw someone in an orange outfit the same color as that and they were a jerk to you. So now you don't want to work on that orange project. Give yourself grace. Give yourself the room to be yourself. And that's really all that crafting is you being able to outwardly show who you are on the inside. And I think that that's great. So thank you everyone that commented. Thank you everyone who answered my poll question on Instagram about what you want to hear about on the next video. I really appreciate you sitting with me and hanging out. I am not going to ask you to like or subscribe. I'm not that type of person. If you do, great. If you don't, that's cool too. But I had fun chatting. I hope we can hang out again soon. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing this weekly or bi-weekly or monthly, but so far I'm having a great time. I will see you in the next one. Bye.